Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. You like that? 3, 1, 2, 3. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Wow, new intro.
Football.
Whoa,
New intro alert.
that's impressive.
Judd spent all night editing the sound, the video
Yeah,
to produce.
I've been thinking for months now, God, we need a new intro. So I took it upon myself to do it.
When's the last time you bought new socks? I feel like you would have kept the same socks and intro
Oh, no.
shoes for 12 years.
Shoes I will keep as long as possible. Socks.
Really?
I make a Target run like once if I get low on socks or like you
Get
you
low
start
on
to like
socks? Like
Yeah.
you lose them or
well I'll throw them away.
They
once
wander
I
off.
start.
The sock monsters come into your
Yeah,
dresser
the
and
sock
just taking
monster.
them? Yeah.
Or I'm down to like one sock here, one sock there, and I can't. I'm big on matching socks. I can't wear unmatched white socks, which is who cares? I'll go to Target and just buy a new thing of socks. I love new socks because then you can take them from the package for like a week and a half after that, and it's so convenient.
There's always the people like, if you won the lottery, what would you do? I think my brother said he would wear a new pair of socks every single day.
oh,
New pair, fresh pair, out of the seal every day. Would never wear the same socks again.
You know, I think you'd be surprised though with shoes and socks, right? I'm not saying that like it's economical to literally do what Declan just said, but
Yeah.
some of the things we think are really expensive, like the shoe thing. I used to do what Judd did, what Judd does, which is like get a new pair of shoes and then wear it for 5 years almost every day. Well, like, what are you paying? You're paying like $150 for shoes or whatever. Maybe you splurge and pay $200 for shoes.
But
And then you're going to wear them for 5 years? Like you
I
just
had
spent
like
$120 on brunch on Sunday, you know?
My shoes don't last 5 years. First of all, the shelf life of my shoes is probably 2 years. But my big thing is if I find a comfortable pair of shoes, I'm not going away from them.
Well, you
I
could
love-
but you could then, you could hit the reset button after 1 year and get the same pair of shoes, just new. You know what I'm saying?
I've tried that, but the last time that I went to DSW, they didn't have the shoes I wanted, and so I had to switch. And
Gotta go
I don't
online.
like
Gotta
these
go-
as much.
Nordstrom Rack. Also, Declan here for Nordstrom Rack. They also got a really good shoe
I should go
selection there, too.
online. I always forget to go online. Dawn goes online. I always forget.
You forget. You just find yourself wandering into brick and mortar stores like, dang
Hello.
Could have gone.
Well, I don't
Could've gone
buy. I
online.
mean, I don't go online. I look for sports stuff online, but I don't look for day-to-day stuff online, and I should, but I just don't. I don't think of it.
Yeah. So, well, there's your sports dad shoe
That's all I
update
got.
for the show here.
like
So,
the
hey,
shoes.
before we get into, you have done some digging on exactly if the Vikings are to move into the top 3. Let's say, and we'll get to sort of where this comes from. What would it take, and how would they be able to do it if they were going to make an aggressive play from 11 into the top 3? Maybe get their franchise quarterback. You have kind of laid this out. Today's episode presented by Quick Trip and also our friends at Ballards Resort. Ballards Resort, just 300 plus miles. It's a half a day trip up to the doorstep of the Canadian border water because Ballards Resort is situated on the south shore of Lake of the Woods, right where that rainy river flows into this massive lake. Great fishing, by the way. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. You can get access to U.S. Coast Guard licensed guides, and they will hook you up with all the equipment you need. Full-service bar, restaurant at Ballards Resort. BallardsResort.com. These dates do book up fast, so go to BallardsResort.com. Just to refresh people's memories here, Brett Coleman went on the Mina Kimes podcast a couple weeks ago, and he said, I don't think people realize how hard the Vikings tried to trade up for Anthony Richardson last year. The haul that they put on the table was massive. They were going to give away the entire farm and all the cows, all of it. Give away Bessie to get Anthony Richardson. They were going to give everything, but it takes two to tango. The trade partner said, we want lower picks. We think if you make this trade, you're going to be drafting later in the first round. So they said, no, I still think Minnesota is going to try and make a move in this year's draft. And Jaden Daniels, I feel like he's a Kevin O'Connell type of quarterback. Penix as well. But I really do think the added mobility and all the stuff you can do with Jaden Daniels in the run game is a factor. If they tried and failed to get Anthony Richardson last year, I have to imagine Jaden Daniels is on the list to do it again this year.
Oh.
They would have to move into the top 5 for sure to be safe, and maybe even top 3 to be really safe. So,
right.
Is this a realistic thing this year? Do we think?
So I spent hours yesterday going through a process because there's what should be the price of poker, there's the reality of the price of poker, and then there's the dominoes that have to fall your way to even get to the poker table. All right?
Okay.
So I'm trying to be as realistic as possible here on a Reckless Speculation Thursday. That means the Bears picking 1 with a pick they acquired for 2 and 15 Carolina from Carolina is out. I don't see this being a possibility. I don't even think it's worth. I looked at what it would cost. I then tried to factor in the divisional tax that would come with it, along with the fact that the Bears are, in fantastic shape to make a trade or keep the pick. And I don't see the Vikings being a fit. I just don't.
And on that note, real quick, so we're both looking at the same draft value chart, right?
I don't know about that. I'll explain
Draft
in a
tech?
second. Yeah,
Okay.
That's what I used. Bill Belichick's draft tech.
It's
Yeah, there's like
it's the
Jimmy
Zolgad draft tech.
Johnson.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson's is the old one, and the theory now is that, and I guess Belichick in the past has talked about this, the draft tech point system is now the more accurate one.
Okay. But I'm just looking at, I think this is the Jimmy Johnson one. But whatever. So there's a 400-point gap between the number 1 and number 2, which is the equivalent of like a mid-second round pick. So it would cost you, without even factoring in the division tax, the difference in going from 2 up to 1 is a second round pick and all the other stuff that you would be trading to go from 11 to whatever. Right. And then the difference between number 1 and number 3 is 800 points, which would be like an additional first round pick. So like moving up from 11 to 3 and 11 to 1 and 11 to 2 those are all very different things according to this draft chart.
And in the draft tech world, if that is what is used now, the Bears pick is worth 1,000 points. It's the only pick in the draft that's worth 1,000 points. The second overall pick is worth 717 points. So that's the system that I used. And I did then look at the potential, and I've got this, of a trade with the Commanders if they decide to go veteran quarterback, i.e. a Kirk Cousins, and now they don't need a quarterback, and they are in position trying to improve to actually try and accrue draft picks and move the second pick. And here's what I found, okay? If you are the Vikings, this is the draft tech offer. And bear with me because I'm going to bring you then what the reality is, because the reality of going this high and the what you think you can offer and what you need to really offer are two very different things I found. All right. So the offer that you could make if you just go by draft tech alone. So this is the points system. And again, this pick for the Commanders, the second overall pick, is worth 717 points. Mm-hmm. You swap first round picks. So you go up to 2. The Commanders get your 11th overall pick in the first round. The Commanders also get the Vikings' 42nd pick in the second round. And then in reality, according to Draft Tech, you should be able to offer them a conditional first or second round pick that becomes a first based on, let's say, things like playing time for the quarterback that you take with that second pick. And I've got the math here.
Okay.
The Draft Tech math. Again, this pick is worth 717 points. The Vikings pick at 11 is worth 358.
Yep.
The Vikings second round pick is worth 142 points.
That's a lot of math.
So this puts me, but I did it all with my calculator, so it's right.
Did you use your phone calculator, or do you have like an actual calculator?
No, I use my phone now, although I do love the old school
your TI.
where you can just bang the hell out of the calculator.
Texas Instruments back in the day.
Yes,
after you ripped me too yesterday for doing math, and you also saying I'm not a math guy. Here you are 24 hours later on Purple Daily doing math.
But I totally cheated. Like, I'm prepared.
Okay.
You actually were doing math on the fly. I did not. I would never do this.
Right.
Anyway, with the swap of first round picks and the second round pick going to the Commanders, That leaves me 217 points shy. All right. That means that almost for sure, no matter what I do, if I give you the 2025 first round pick, mine, if I'm the Vikings, it's an overpay unless I'm drafting really late in the first round. So that's why you would put a condition on that pick, ideally.
So, okay. So to just sort of swim through the math weeds here for a second.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying to go, and you're talking about the number 2 pick. So going from 11 to 2
Yep.
would be, you'd swap the 11 and the 2, obviously.
Yep.
And you'd give up your 42. So you give up your second round pick this year and a conditional 2025 first round pick.
Which would be a second round pick and with conditions to bump it up to the first round based on, I'd said, playing time for the rookie QB.
Now, of course, they might come back, Washington, and say, let's just take the condition off of that and kick in a fourth just for good measure because we have 4 other teams that are.
That's where this draft tech falls apart because you just nailed it. Here is the precedent, though. So I've offered this, and I'm like, this is a great offer, Washington. Come on, Commanders, take this.
It says it makes sense. It works out on the drafttech.com says it works.
Yes, I'm being intentional, damn it. You tell me what you want. Here's the precedent. The 49ers Dolphins trade that bumped the 49ers up to the 3rd overall pick in 2021 to take Trey Lance.
Mm-hmm.
That trade sent the number 12 pick in 2021. So it's damn near parallel. It's a swap. In this case, it was 12-3. In this case, it's 11-2. Plus first round selections in 2022 and 23 and a 3rd rounder in 2022.
So say it again. So it's so you're going from swapping 12. You're swapping the 12 and the 3 plus
plus a first rounder in 2022.
Okay.
And 23.
Okay, yeah.
And a 3rd rounder in 22.
That's bonkers. And that was for Trey Lance, by the way.
I know.
Right.
But it also means that my math falls apart.
Yep. So your math is not considering the market and the demand, right? We've got, it's like on Black Friday when, you remember back in the day, like when I was a kid, it was the Cabbage Patch Kid, or when like, the first PlayStation came out in the late 90s and you would see the doors open at Walmart or somewhere. There's 10 PlayStations or there's 50 PlayStations and there's 200, there's 300 rabid, frothing at the mouth parents trying to get that. That's what the NFL is. The NFL there are at any given time 7 to 8, maybe 9 desperate, frothing at the mouth, quarterback starved franchises. And you might say, hey, the PlayStation costs $150. But if that store could actually account for the fact, this is Uber surge pricing, right? There's 20 drivers in the area, and there's 150 people desperately trying to get home after a Taylor Swift concert. Cool. Yes. Well, that ride's going to cost you 4 times as much.
Yes.
I mean, this is draft surge pricing, basically. Yes.
This is me trying to pay a retail price at an auction. Where the item is this, this rare commodity.
This happens I'm still in a fantasy football league with a bunch of my good college friends from a decade and a half ago now. And we have an auction every year. And I go into that auction every year confident that I have adjusted. I've got what the cheat sheet says the values are. And then I know that based on this league, that running back, Derrick Henry, it says he's worth 60. He's probably going to go for like 70 in this league. And then every year it's even higher than you think. I think that's the cost of moving up into the top 3 in the draft. You've got what the draft tech value says. Then you've got, but we're going to account for like kicking in an extra 3rd round pick because there's going to be a tax. When in reality, it's like, no, it's 2 extra 1st round picks. Or you don't get to move up.
At least.
Yep.
At least.
So would you give up then? Let's use the real life example. Would you give up to go from 11 to 2? Would you give up 2 future 1st round picks in addition to the swapping of the, your 11, plus like a day 2 or day 3 pick to go get Drake May or Jaden Daniels?
If I was convinced this was my guy, yes, I would. Because it goes back to largely, I think, our show on Wednesday.
Yeah.
which is, can you afford not to take the chance if you think that this is your guy?
But I also think, when the 49ers did it, and this is the most amazing thing, because the fear is that you make a trade like this and you pick the wrong guy, which they did, and now you're going into franchise purgatory because now you're without the quarterback because he's not good, and you're without all these first-round picks. But the 49ers organization was so loaded with talent going into that trade, and they've nailed a bunch of moves since that trade that they can withstand it. Yeah. Are the Vikings on that level organizationally right now where they could make a move like this to get themselves to another level? And by the way, when the 49ers made that trade, I know they had a couple weird down seasons, but the 49ers were just a better roster and a better run organization. The Vikings are certainly not the Cardinals. They're not a train wreck. But the Niners were in a better spot to absorb a whiff like that. I don't know, man. The Vikings have some nice pieces, but to give up that much future capital. Now, of course, if you are right and you nail it, and Jaden Daniels is a top 5 quarterback, rookie scale contract, right? Like, cool, we don't need first round picks. You got to hit on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. You got to get some depth somewhere.
Right.
But that's aggressive. That's aggressive.
Dex, go ahead.
I think I'd sign up for it, though. If they've identified the guy, if they've identified their guy, that Jaden Daniels is their man, and they want to get up to 3 or 4 and take that guy, I'm for that plan. I mean, at some point, this is a risky business as it is, and you're not really guaranteed, more than 5 years. What's the average, regime for a head coach? What, 3 to 5 years?
Well, I can answer that by saying I saw a graphic on social media yesterday where it showed like the 8 longest tenured head coaches. And like 6, 7, and 8 were hired in 2020.
Yeah. So you only get so many cracks at this. And if you want to play it safe because you're scared of losing your job, well, you got to take a big swing here into Judd. I think the payoff is worth the investment there.
And if you're O'Connell and Kwesi, at least as we sit here doing this show right now, you're going into year 3 of 4-year contracts next year. I'd rather take a swing. And if you don't, so like let's say you take Penix, okay? But he's had 2 torn up knees. And let's just say that Jaden Daniels has looked fantastic. Everything about you says he is the guy. Yeah, it's a lot to give up. And yes, it's going to be questioned. But I feel like for us to backtrack on this right now with how this team has operated, at least from my personal standpoint, is hypocritical, because now we're sort of talking about trying to run things back or be as safe as possible. And I don't think being safe.
Well, no, I don't. Okay. Here's where I kind of disagree. And I am on team find your quarterback 100%. Like we all are. Mm-hmm. I think we're dealing with an inexact science and process here where smart ass organizations like the 49ers are saying, yep, we're going to give up. We're going to do a first-round swap and 2 future firsts and a 3rd, and Trey Lance. We are that confident that Trey Lance is our franchise changer. One of the smartest front offices and organizations in the league. And Kyle Shanahan, one of the best quarterback whisperers, and they were wrong. Mm-hmm. So if you made a move like this, you can only be a certain percentage sure that you're doing it for the right guy. And so when you start to think about kind of the percentage game you're playing in a really deep quarterback draft, I think my question would be, would you be better off going with a game-changing? So would you be better off saving a 2025 first and a 2026 first, not going up to number 3, drafting, call it Jerzon Newton or one of the edge rushers to help change your trenches, and then go get Bo Nix, trade back into the first round later and get Bo Nix, who maybe isn't the prospect that Jaden Daniels is? With that, and then you keep your first round pick in 2025, keep your first round pick in 2026. Like these are the probabilities and percentages that you have to weigh as you go through this.
But if you go back, the Ponder draft itself was deep. Jake Locker was in that draft. Blaine Gabbert was in that draft. Christian Ponder was in that draft.
It was deep on paper going into
But that's what I'm saying is like we're talking about this draft like J.J. McCarthy or Penix. We have no idea. If Jaden Daniels clearly is a guy, like if you come away convinced this guy is a stud, this guy is going to be a day 1 starter, this guy has that there's 3 guys. Like
he's Lamar. Yeah,
exactly. This is a deep QB draft, but there's 3 guys. Then I think you need to do it. I think you need to consider it. I really do.
Yeah, I would lean toward take your shot, even if there's a 70% chance that you whiff. I think you would just have to have confidence in your organization that, okay, you'll find a way to, you've always found a way for 60 years to be somewhat relevant. They've only had like 5 garbage dumpster fire seasons in franchise history that you would just, hey, you take a shot. Hey, if it works, now you've got your 10-year quarterback.
Yep.
If it doesn't work, you can lean on, well, we've had problems before with salary cap and draft position and lack of draft capital, and we found our way out of it. Then you'd have to entertain trading like actual good players like Christian Darrisaw in a year or two for draft capital to make up for it. But what about, did you do the math on the 3rd pick? Because that's different. It's different.
Yep, I did. So let's say that the Patriots say we're open for business. Our team has a ton of holes. We actually would prefer draft picks over the 3rd pick. And if we could turn that into more draft picks, we can build our franchise. I think the Patriots are definitely in a reset, rebuild mode, and they should be. Okay. So again, here is the offer using draft tech. And then we'll go back to the reality with that Dolphins trade with San Francisco back a couple of years.
Okay.
So the offer is this with draft tech. The Patriots get your 1st round pick. So again, 11 overall, the 42nd pick in the draft, and the 131st pick in the 4th round. And here's the math.
That's
Patriots, that's it. The Patriots' 1st round pick is worth 514 points. The Vikings' first 2 picks, so picks 1 and then the 42nd pick in the 2nd round, combined for, get this, 500 points. So you're only 14 points off, according to Draft Tech. They have 2 4th round picks this year, and the second 4th round pick, which is what you would give the Patriots, so it's actually a late 4, is worth 18 points. So you overpay by 4 points. So that's the reality of how this works.
Here's what we're thinking, New England. So we're thinking if you
they're
look at
laughing
the
at you.
draft, if
They're
you
like,
look at the
"You
draft
dumb-"
value
they're
chart
like,
here,
hey, Quasi, be intentional with this, baby.
they're like,
But
they're
it goes
like,
back to what
well, we
you
have
said.
6 other teams on the horn right
Correct.
now that are interested.
Correct.
The Falcons are on the other line. The Raiders, the Giants.
So maybe to go back to the 2021 trade that involved Trey Lance being taken, maybe you send your 1st round pick this year as a swap, 2 1st round selections, and instead of it being a 3rd round pick in a couple of years or a year, it's a 4th or 5th round pick.
Another real world example is Texans and Cardinals from last year, where the Texans went from 12 to 3. They already had the 2nd pick, right, with CJ Stroud, and then they moved up to 3 to get Will Anderson. And they wound up with, so the Texans got the 3, and then they also got the 105, which is an early 4th round pick. And Arizona gets the 12, so they swapped the 3 and the 12, plus an early 2nd round pick, plus a 2024 1st, 2024 3rd as well. So I think no matter what, real world with the 49ers example and the Texans, to get into the top 3, it's going to cost you at least 1 future 1st round pick. Plus another thing or 2 or swap or 2, right?
Yes.
So with that Patriots one too, Judd, you get the 3rd overall pick, correct? And then
Correct.
do you not have another pick till day 3 of the draft? Is that correct?
So you would send them, yes. Correct.
So you'd go get Jaden Daniels, and then you'd sit around for 2 days until you pick at 108.
Because you don't have a 3rd round pick right now because of the Hawkinson trade. So you are correct.
So and again, if you make a move like that, is that quarterback? I mean, overnight, you can't expect the Vikings to overnight just be, a Super Bowl contender. But is that quarterback going to be good enough in 2 years, in 3 years on a rookie scale deal as you add other pieces in free agency? The other thing too is if you make a decision, let's say this is what you're going to do. Well, you would have said goodbye to Kirk Cousins, and you're going to eat that $28 million hit, and then it's done after 2024. And you would have, in fact, right now, I gotta, this is like 2025 cap space. You'd be able to sort of go through and pick your star players in free agency. So right now, the Vikings have the 5th most cap space in 2025 if they don't bring Kirk Cousins back.
Dex will attest to this. It is incredible how similar the paths of the Vikings and Wild are right now. And everything is screaming next season, just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it because you are going to be set financially in 2 years. And to your points, now you can start. Now you got the young kids. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the only thing I would disagree with on the Wilds part is so their superstar player Kirill Kaprizov is obviously coming up for a contract, and it's just going to be harder for them, in my opinion, to compete in a quicker fashion than the Vikings. Where the Vikings, if they nail Jaden Daniels and then they have the cap space to play with in 20, I mean, business is open, baby. Like this Wild plan could take 3 to 4 years to really get back to relevancy. The Vikings, if Jaden Daniels is a stud and then they have all the cap space, I mean, you're sitting just like the Texans are right now, CJ Stroud.
Sure.
Yeah, and you'd also, Justin Jefferson's going to get a deal, and that's going to eat into some of the space. But
and
other
Darisaw
teams
can then too, Phil.
Yep, Darisaw would get a deal, but other teams are looking at similar things too. It's not like the Vikings are the only team that has to pay star young players in 2025-26. So that's pretty much. So Judd did the homework there.
Hold on a second though. I'm not done yet because I did the 4th pick in case Jaden Daniels sneaks through. And let's just say, gentlemen, that I took my math hat off and went full reckless speculation. I loosened the tie.
Okay.
Because I'm crunching numbers, right? I got my pencil. I got my calculator. I'm crunching numbers, and I'm like, this is boring. It's
if my general manager is using a pencil and an actual calculator, I am not confident that person knows what he's doing.
You don't think Brzezinski has like a
Brzezinski seems like
old
a tech
school
guy.
calculator? Okay. Okay, so let's go. The 4th overall pick is the 4 and 13 Cardinals. Let's say Jaden Daniels has slipped. So now the Cardinals are at 4. Well, they're not going to take him probably. So that pick could be, but they like a receiver. We all know that. Marvin Harrison Jr. Here's the offer. The Vikings offer their 2nd round pick.
Okay.
All right. But what do the Cardinals need? Cardinals want to take, if they're going to give up this pick, they're going to probably punt on a chance to get Marvin.
Yeah,
Harrison
he's not falling
Jr.
to 11. Yeah.
Not going to fall to 11, right? Well, the Cardinals, they're so damn cheap that they just laid off part of their coverage team for their website.
Okay.
So Justin Jefferson, he ain't going to get paid there. So like before you think, oh my God, you're trading Justin Jefferson. No, I'm not. I'm not offering him. I'm offering them Jordan Addison.
Okay.
First of all, please play the reckless speculation sounder.
I did. I already did.
Just keep playing it because I'm going to get killed in the comments
I just played
for
it like a
this.
minute ago.
I'm going to get killed in the comments for this.
Okay. I think here's where I'm at with this. Jordan Addison on a rookie scale contract as maybe a 1B wide receiver is super valuable.
Yes.
And so now what you're doing here is you're taking a weapon off the table. I get that you still have Justin Jefferson on your team and Hawkinson, but you're taking a weapon off the table for your quarterback that you're drafting.
Yes.
And a really valuable contract for the next 3 or 4 years.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I can get there. I would prefer to give up draft capital than Jordan Addison. Because I know what Jordan Addison is for the next 4 years. And it's team control contract, salary, team friendly salary. So I would rather give them unknown commodities, which are draft picks, than the known commodity on a very cost effective deal, Jordan Addison.
But what if they say, well, if we're going to trade that pick to what you said before, we're not going to get the wide receiver that we were going to draft it for. So we want your wide receiver if you want Jaden Daniels.
I mean, I guess if the only option is if you're telling me you can have Jaden Daniels for the equivalent of your 2nd round pick and Jordan Addison, okay, I would do that.
And it might take like a 5th rounder or something. But my point is I had to get creative because I don't think they're just going to want. I think they would love to get a potential star player, cost controlled. They're cheap. They're the Cardinals. I think they'll always probably be a mess. So I came up with that one.
There's also a lot of like 7-lane freeways in the Phoenix area, and Jordan Addison can go as fast as he wants down there.
Are there really 7-lane freeways now?
There's a lot of open
why?
space on those freeways. Old people don't like to drive on the freeways, so they're wide open.
And they're new because for years I think that entire thing there highway system. I think they just started to build freeways like 30 years ago there.
That's a long time to have freeways, isn't it? I mean, 30
years ago is not that long. It's the 80s.
We had horses and buggies 100 years ago.
94 was built.
We didn't even have electricity until like 120 years ago.
94, I believe, was built in the 60s, right, Declan?
Can you look that up, Declan?
I genuinely have no idea about that. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you told me the story of the Rondo.
Well, the Rondo neighborhood
and
was torn up, but
right, because that's because of the freeway. I'm trying to provide some lessons here. That
okay.
The I-94 went in through the Rondo.
The 60s are a long time ago.
Yeah,
no,
right?
I know, but I'm saying so Arizona didn't catch up until like 35 years after that.
I get what you're saying. So Arizona was 20 years behind the freeway.
They were way behind
early
the curve there. But anyway, Jordan could go as fast as he wanted, and his dog would never be in peril that way.
No, there's plenty of people who can take care of your dog too in Arizona. So okay, well, how frisky would you get, Vikings fans, Purple Daily listeners? Judd laid out a bunch of scenarios here. Yeah, would you do that trade? Would you trade a second in Jordan Addison?
No. That one's a slam the phone for me. It's on the phone down for me.
But would you trade 2 future first-round picks and a third to get to the 3?
Yep.
So you'd rather give up 2 future firsts than Jordan Addison?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Not going to give up a controllable asset that's a big part of my offense going forward.
Yeah, it is. Like, to know that he's cheap for the next 4 years is. He's really good too. But yeah, hit us up in the YouTube comment section, and maybe we can read some of those on Feedback Friday. There is an interesting mock that kind of plays into what Judd has done here.
I want a mock.
We can buzz through this real quick before we get to the Random Viking of the Week. So this is from it's the Pro Football Network. Joe Broback's 2024 NFL mock draft.
Oh, I saw some of this morning. Yeah.
Yeah, this came out this morning, 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
He has the Vikings trading up to the number 1 overall pick with Chicago to get Drake May. That's the headline. So here's the trade.
Wow.
The Bears would get the 11, obviously, the 42, the 126, and a 2025 first and second round pick. So you would essentially be giving up most of your first 2 days of this year's draft, or all of the first 2 days, plus a 2025 first and second. And then the Vikings would get the number 1 overall pick and a 2025 sixth round pick. They would kick back a day 3 pick.
Well, thanks a lot.
And here's the write-up. There's a growing belief that Minnesota wants to move up in this draft, but at what cost? To get Drake May or Caleb Williams, the Vikings would give up significant draft capital. How much remains to be seen? It's likely they'll need more if they trade with in-division rivals Chicago. May is a great fit in Minnesota's offense. He has the arm talent to move the ball down the field on all 3 levels. That's a major crux as to why he's considered a top 2 pick. He would do well under Kevin O'Connell's tutelage, but May also gives the Vikings an aspect they didn't have with Kirk Cousins. One of the biggest gripes with Cousins is his inability to escape pressure. May's mobility allows him and the team to breathe more easily. But if they did this and then drafted not Caleb Williams, it would also be controversial, right? I mean,
most definitely.
You would, and then Caleb falls to number 2 in this scenario. And then Jaden Daniels falls to 3 to the Patriots. Interesting.
Yeah, do you guys see the Bears? I mean, with all the teams that they could potentially do business with, do you see the Bears doing business with the Vikings?
I don't, but
no.
I mean,
I can't get there.
But I mean, the Vikings did major business twice with the Lions.
Yeah.
Major business twice.
Yeah. I just don't know Ryan Poles is going to want to put a quarterback potentially that could haunt them for years to come.
Yeah. And so what would they do then? So they would then, let's see, with the 11th pick, the Bears would take Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama. I don't know if he has, well, don't they have another? They have another one here too. Oh, they would take Rome Odunze. So they would not take a quarterback with their 9th or their 11th. They would take wide receiver and then edge rusher, and presumably keep. Maybe they would take in the second round J.J. McCarthy to sit behind Fields. But interesting stuff here.
It's one thing to roll with Justin Fields. It's another to roll with Justin Fields while putting the guy that you could have taken in your division.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Major cojones.
I guess I don't fear that as much. I think you have to, if it's a good deal for you and you feel like, hey, we have our quarterback, he's Justin Fields, and we can get a lot more draft capital, I think you would just gamble that, hey, it's a 50-50 shot that they hit on a franchise quarterback. And I mean, Kirk Cousins has been the best quarterback in the division at times the last couple of years, and the Vikings aren't like a threat to win the Super Bowl. So
I'm also curious now if the Chargers are going to try to move back in the first round that Harbaugh's there and take McCarthy, because you do not take him at 5.
the Chargers,
With Jim Harbaugh.
but they have
They
one of
just
the
signed
best
Justin
5
Herbert.
quarterbacks in the world.
I thought he could get him as a backup or something, but yeah, that's a good point. I whiffed on that mentally.
Okay.
I'd like to apologize.
I like to
Just
an instant
realizes
apology.
error. Yeah,
Yeah.
wait, no,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah.
Disregard.
Yeah.
Herbert.
Yeah.
I
was
mean,
just thinking of the relationship, but yeah, you're right. They're not going to.
you're like, well, Phillip Rivers is old. Why would they want to
Yeah.
keep him around?
Yeah.
In San Diego.
My bad.
No, you're good. It's okay. A sports
My
dad
bad.
moment. So
That
there's
was
your
it.
mock.
I want a mock.
There's
Brain
your mock.
fart.
Okay, it's time for a random Viking of the week here, boys. Presented today in part by our friends over at Nutrisource, the official dog and pet food of us on Purple Daily, and our dogs. Maya Mackey, there's her slow motion happy dance as she's about to get a giant scoop of Nutrisource chicken and rice, boys.
And look at that. Look at her up and down, and look at that little girl. That look is the look I get every morning when Stella wants her food, and of course that's Nutrisource, and that's her treats as well. And that condescending look only changes when she is fed and happy with Nutrisource.
Vinny was just following me around like crazy this morning, and I was getting. And usually, he's glued to mom 95% of the time. And I'm like, what is up with you, dude? He just wanted treats. He knew who knew who the sucker was in this house. He just said, you know what? This guy will give me the treat. I'm going to follow him around until I get what I want.
You can find a Nutrisource retailer in your neighborhood or nearby at NutrisourcePetFoods.com and just find out more about why dogs love Nutrisource. Also, our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company are helping guide and navigate businesses. So it's like having a great offensive line for your business. Federated, they've been around since 1904, Owatonna, Minnesota. They are one of us, so to speak. And they measure the success of their business by the success of yours. It's a true partnership, face-to-face, eye-to-eye relationship. And you can find out more about all the resources they have to offer and the company history at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours. Okay, it's time for the random Viking of the week here, where this week we've got Declan handing out the clues. The last handful of random Vikings: superstar Mike Morris, E.J. Henderson, Case Keenum, Andrew Glover, Cullen Loeffler, and Brett Favre. In the new era, Judd has 12 wins. I have 11. Declan has 7. That's where we all three compete equally against each other. All time, Judd has 64 wins to Declan's 33. I have 18. Declan throws out the clues. Judd and I can fire off answers whenever, however we want to. If one of us hits a third strike, the other person wins automatically. No Googling. And away we go.
All right. This random Viking of the week wore the same number throughout his entire NFL career. Did not change numbers.
Okay.
Officially, he only played for 2 teams. Only logged games with 2 teams. This random Viking of the week has a perfect career passer rating of 158.3. This random Viking of the week had 23 touchdowns in his NFL career.
I have a guess.
Okay.
I'm going to control F to make sure we haven't done this person yet. We've not. Is it Sidney Rice?
Sidney Rice.
I almost said that.
Oh, wow.
I almost said that but I think he threw more. I think he threw more than one. Like, I think he threw enough passes. I'm pretty sure he didn't complete them all. but that's a good guess.
This random Viking of the week appeared in 8 playoff games. 3 of them starts. All of them with the Vikings.
Okay. Wait, no. We'll do some math on this guy.
8 playoff games.
4. He went to play it in 8. Because he would have shown up. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Okay.
Got a guess?
I'm going to stay aggressive.
Okay.
Is it Jake Reed?
Jake Reed.
Shoot.
Down to your last strike here.
Did Jake Reed throw a pass?
Can I Google that?
Sure.
He might have. I just don't remember it. Definitely remember
Jake
Sidney
Reed.
Rice.
Friend of the
Rice
show.
football.
Okay,
Right.
Jake Reed wore the same number, only played for 2 teams.
Saints. Yeah.
Jake Reed also played in, it was 9 playoff games. with
Wow.
The Vikings.
That's actually really funny.
Let's see if he passed. I don't think
8
he
playoff
passed.
games.
Never threw a pass.
So here's something interesting. I like going to LinkedIn for some of these random Vikings, seeing what they put on here. This random Viking of the week, while he was playing, was a 401k specialist and mutual fund wholesaler.
Okay, so financial guy.
And after retiring, spent time in admissions and the athletic department at his alma mater. And was a 10-year member of the NFL's Players Association.
Oh boy.
No, that guy played for more of the PA. Okay. So 23 touchdowns in his career.
Mm-hmm. Are you circling the wagons here, Judd, or do you have a guess?
I'm in a bad spot too because my next guess
No,
eliminates
no.
me.
No, I don't have a guess yet. But the 10-year member of the PA is interesting.
Because he would have been a leader then. Like that's a long time. Wait, have we done this guy? Control F. We're both Control Fing.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. No, he was.
No, we did that guy. Dang it.
did.
Okay, we might need another clue.
This random Viking of the week is in the College Football Hall of Fame. He was a first-team member all 4 years at his college.
A first team member.
Of his conference, sorry.
All conference.
Mm-hmm. All conference, all 4 years.
Okay.
This random Viking of the week accumulated over 4,000 special teams return yards, but never returned a touchdown.
Control Fing.
Ton
Okay.
of kick return, punt return yards, but no touchdowns in that department. Okay.
I'm gonna go.
Okay.
David Palmer.
David Palmer. Final guess from Phil Mackey.
Judd wins. Judd wins by default.
Okay, I've got a
You want to
question.
keep going? Yeah.
No. I've got a question that would
Googling
change that we have never done before. But here's my question: should Declan reveal this, or should this be kept? But then we can. But then of course we
think
would
we
have to
wanna
agree
know.
not to go and use it. Yeah, and we would have to agree then not to try and find it. So
I'm just going to rapid fire a few more clues off before I give you the
Yeah, go
actual
ahead.
answer.
I can't guess anymore. So
Okay,
yeah.
this random Viking was traded twice in season. Once by the Vikings, once by another team.
in
This
season.
random in season. This random Viking is more known for a very famous drop. Maybe the most famous drop potentially in Vikings history.
Darren Nelson.
Darren Nelson.
There
It is. Wow.
Oh,
Well, at least Judd got it.
Oh, because he admission athletic department at Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And he played for what two teams? Vikings and Chargers?
Chargers. So
he passed through the Cowboys.
Yep, he was part of the Herschel Walker trade. He refused to report to the Cowboys, so then the Cowboys flipped him.
Wow, Declan going back in time. I didn't see this coming.
You guys someone mentioned him in passing on Monday, and I immediately wrote it down. I was like, oh, Darren Nelson, perfect random Viking.
Very smart, 20. Smart dude.
Number 20, 2 stints with the Vikings, San Diego. Yeah, that's a good one. He is one of the
good work.
One of the more unheralded good players in franchise history. So Judd gets the win. A little too aggressive there. Too aggressive.
You were firing away, dude.
I feel like I was on the set. By the way, David Palmer also played 6. He played 6 playoff games with the Vikings. So I don't know if he ever threw a pass.
I don't think David Palmer. I think the one thing is I don't think he would have gone and worked in the admission and athletic department at Alabama, which I believe was his school.
I think so.
That was that's why I was like, I don't think it's David Palmer. But yeah Darren's a bright guy.
So there we go. All right, there's your Purple Daily, your Random Viking of the week here. Please click the like and the subscribe button on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. And if you could give us a 5-star rating and a positive review on Apple Podcasts, you can also help us grow this show. We'll see you guys tomorrow for a Feedback Friday.